Uzumaki was a long-awaited anime based on one of Junji Ito's more famous works, where the supernatural entities aren't demons or ghosts, but instead are spirals that slowly make everyone go crazy. And going forward, keep in mind that this was in production for like 5 years. So let's start from the beginning where it was still hopeful. The first episode was great. It had awesome visuals that looked pretty identical to the manga. The black and white art style looks incredible and fits the horror aesthetic better than those other Junji Ito anime that we don't talk about. And I even like the rotoscoping. It looks uncanny, which I think really fits the style. The only complaint I've rarely seen about the first episode was that it felt a little rushed, which, as someone who hasn't read the manga, I can't really confirm or deny. But overall, it was what everyone wanted, a good Junji Ito adaptation. How could they possibly mess this up? Yeah, the second episode came out and immediately shattered those hopes, with a very obvious drop in quality. Like, why are they running like that? Did that punch even connect? The animation quality is night and day. I don't even remember if they used rotoscoping in this episode. Shunji Ito, I'm so sorry that they did this to you again. You'll get a flawless adaptation someday. Not even just the animation either. They somehow made the pacing even faster, despite the episode being a little bit longer. And the art, while it doesn't look horrible, it looks way more flat and lifeless than in the first episode. So, what happened here? Well, someone made the brilliant decision to change basically everyone who worked on the first episode with new people. They changed the studios, they changed the director, literally everyone who made the first episode good, they gave the boot. The executive producer even made a statement on the downward spiral for episode 2, which reads, "It's fine, we knew this would happen. I can't talk about what went down, but we were screwed over. And the options were A, not finish and air nothing and call it a loss. B, just finish and air episode 1 and leave it incomplete. Or C, run all four, warts and all. Out of respect for the hard work, we chose C. After waiting for so long, it makes sense people would be mad. Unfortunately, I can't tell them who to blame it on, but someone is definitely at fault here. And we all just had to do our best when things imploded. Maybe others would have made different choices. We did the best with what we had. I couldn't find any details on who was entirely at fault, but I think it's safe to say that most of it comes down to one, it costing too much money, and two, it taking too long to make. Which sucks, but I mean, I guess one really good episode out of four is better than nothing. Well, let's not waste too much more time yapping about the production issues. Let's cover the last two episodes. Episode 3 was much better than episode 2, in my opinion. Sure, it was still rushed and the animation is still not as good as the first. But after episode 2, anything looks better in comparison. This episode has the hospital scene, which I've heard is many people's favorite, and I thought it was pretty good. Junji Ito has this talent to make these things you would never expect to be turned into horror, and he somehow finds the way to turn them into horror. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was eating at a ramen shop one day and he saw the fish cake and was like, I have an idea. And yes, even though the animation took a nosedive, something I can still praise is the art. Some of these frames look awesome. It's a shame that the animation doesn't really work because the art style is actually really amazing for a horror aesthetic. I didn't like the second half as much because I felt like it just kind of ended, but that's kinda what all these episodes are like. But again, compared to episode 2, it was a massive improvement. Not that that was a hard bar to clear. Surely they have to end it on a high note, right? No, Shuichi, don't let that falling PNG take you out. Yeah, it's still not great. Shocker, I know. The opening to this episode is actually really good. I don't know what happened. I guess the animation budget ran out once they got back into town.
狂ってる。 この町を狂った渦巻きだ。
ブツブツうるせんだよお前。
狂ってる狂ってる。
なんだと、うせえれ。
修一君、大丈夫、修一君。
これで少し余裕ができたぞ。
あいつらに言うと入れるなよ。
ねえ、どうす
Yeah, this is kind of what I mean by the pacing feels weird. Everything just kind of happens and it goes from one scene to the next in like a snap of a finger. And again, the art is still pretty good for the most part. It's mostly the animation that brings the whole thing down. But ironically enough, even though this was a disappointing adaptation, it's still the best Junji Ito anime that I've seen at least. And the first episode does show me that it can happen. Just don't overwork your staff and put them on a time crunch, and you'll get there. All in all, I had a pretty fun time watching this. Like, yeah, it looks awful at times, and the pacing is all off, but it still has amazing visuals and it sounds good. It's like a slasher movie in a way. We all know most of them are shit, but we like to have fun watching them anyways. If I had to give Uzumaki a score, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10 looking at it subjectively, which is pretty good for the most part, since most horror media I'd probably give even lower scores than that. Uzumaki was an entertaining mess that was short, simple, and personally gave me plenty of laughs. Which, I mean, isn't really the point of horror, but I mean, I'd rather watch a laughably bad one than a boring one. Let me know your thoughts on Uzumaki down below, and I'll see you in the next one.